When it comes to werewolves, it reminds you why, even though in the past couple of months, and even in the months coming, werewolves are trying to make a comeback, this film reminds you why it's been such a struggle for them to come back while vampires and even witches are having a real moment here. So to summarize the film, it's been almost a year since the last supermoon, and during that supermoon, over 1 million people turned into werewolves. And with this coming supermoon, the hope is that people like Wesley, who are veterans and scientists, they can create what is known as moon screen, a type of sunscreen, but now for the supermoon, that will stop people from transforming and basically going rabid. For Wesley, his hope is to not only find some type of cure or maybe some type of thing to help people who can't be locked into some type of housing. And then while he's doing that, he's also trying to make sure that his brother's wife Lucy and his niece Emma are safe. Unfortunately, though, the moon screen, while it works at first, unfortunately, it doesn't long term. And with that, Wesley finds himself going from scientist to soldier and trying to not only fight his way out of the facility where all the tests were being done, but also to his family in hopes that he can keep them safe and alive overnight. So getting to the review portion, unfortunately, there are no highlights whatsoever. For starting off, and this is kind of a weird thing to know because we usually don't do cinematography, lighting, and stuff like that as part of the review, but I will admit there's lighting decisions that don't make a lot of sense, and that's specifically when things start to go haywire, because as the lights go off to say, there's a warning, something's gone wrong, it becomes like these weird strobe lights that, for me, I had to kind of lean down because it was hurting my eyes, and I wonder a little bit in terms of people who have epilepsy or really sensitive to light, what that could do to them. And I just feel if you're going to produce a movie, which I guess could be considered indie, maybe you should take note of potential means of alienating an audience. And lighting of that kind would possibly be something that should be kept in mind. With that said, another issue was that when it comes to the animatronics that are used for the werewolves, they look kind of dated. And I get it might be cheaper to use animatronics than have people in costumes with makeup and everything, but the animatronics look like they were from like the early 90s. Like, I kept thinking about the show Dinosaurs when watching this. It's just now instead of the animatronics have scales and a long tail and all that, now they're covered in fur, look like a werewolf. And granted, they moved decently, but they still came off kind of fake in a way where it kind of took away from the element of there being some need to fear what's going on. Though, what doesn't help is that this is one of those movies where the lead is like Rambo, and no matter who they're going against, nothing really bad's going to happen to them. I mean, Wesley has bullets flying by him, these giant werewolves that are attacking him, chasing him, yet you know from the beginning that nothing's going to happen. And then when it comes to Lucy and Emma, you would hope maybe they would be threatened in a way that's credible, but it's hard to believe that anything's really going to happen to them. And granted, Lucy's put in this position where you think maybe something could happen to her because she's given a shotgun and she doesn't seem to have the same training as Wesley does, so there is the element of maybe something could go down, especially as she becomes surrounded by at least 4 or 5 werewolves. And then, of course, there's always a question of, will this film be real bold and have something happen to Emma, even if they keep Lucy alive or minimal harm? Because, Emma's a child, and there is kind of the hope that maybe something would happen to really, make this film stand out. But at the end of the day, Werewolves is definitely a generic action thriller that somehow ended up in theaters, even though it feels like a straight-to-video-on-demand release.